How's it going, people? Welcome back to AFTV. Welcome back to the Supporters Club. Today I have with me Julian again. How's it going, Julian?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Very excited to be here as ever.
Come on, all good. Jordan, back again?
Yes, boss. How are you?
I'm good, man. You?
I'm always nice, brother.
And as you can see, I've got Julian's mates on the screen there.
They're not quite my mates. I've said before, I just like to see things.
That's been cropped. He's actually on the other side.
I was actually in the middle with my arms around them. I just like to see things from different angles and always put myself in their position, and would I do the same thing? And I'm not one to criticise people that I would do the same thing, put in their position.
No, you listen, people know me for, being on the Cronke's necks, on their back all the time, regurgitating the same bullshit that they've fed us.
Yep.
Your introduction into AFTV has been refreshing for me, because I feel like in order to have proper debates about something, you need different perspectives. And you've brought a different perspective in. As much as I might disagree with some points and whatnot, you've brought a fresh perspective in, and it's good for the viewers to see my side, your side, Jordan's side, and so on, because our fan base is so big that there's going to be pockets that believe what I say, believe what Jordan says, and believe what you say, Julian. So it's good for them to see the debates that we can have. And
but I mean, on that subject, it's very difficult to be able to compare myself or any of us three to them, because the difference is we love Arsenal and it is a business for them.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you have to take yourself out of the loving Arsenal shoes and put yourself in a businessman's shoes that doesn't give a shit about the club.
Yes, for me impossible, but I try to put myself in their shoes and how they would see it.
Yeah.
If I was owning Arsenal, it wouldn't be like that, but I don't have the money.
Yeah.
Yet.
Well, to be honest, this video is not particularly about Cronke. We'll definitely touch on both Cronke's, Josh and Stan. It's more so about our priorities this summer. There's been rumours, God knows where they've come from, about 250 million to spend. The less said on that, the better. I think it's about time they start showing actions speak louder than words, if that is the case. Ben White seems to be a primary transfer target. I think going into this summer, none of us believed that we'd be spending a chunk of our transfer budget on a centre-back. So what are the priorities? Jordan, let's start with you. And looking at the Arsenal squad, looking at where we are, imagining we have about 100 and 150 million pounds to spend, where would the majority of those funds go to?
So, I mean, the analogy's been made before, but I look at a football team like a house. And in any kind of building, the foundations are the cornerstone of how successful that house is going to be. And you dress it up and you can put nice things in there. You might have a little pool in the back garden. Once you kind of got your house sorted, you might have a certain type of fancy shower. But first and foremost, are the foundations, the flooring secure? You don't want to be in a nice house and the floors are leaking or what. So for me, it's the foundation. So the defence for me is something that I don't think has been addressed for 15 years. I think we're looking at 15 years now since we've had a defence that I think, that's a defence that I think can compete for the Premier League title. So for me, and it's not what a lot of fans want to hear because it's boring and it's sensible, but for me, the majority of the money that I'll be looking to spend, and I've said this for like 4 seasons now, will be at the back. I think we need a right back. We needed a right back for me since Sanya went, really. Not had a right back that has convinced me. I would go and get someone like a Lamptey. I know he's young, but I think that his potential is high. I think there's a lot of quality in there that makes me think the next 10 years he could be one of the best right backs in the Premier League. But if not him, somebody else. On one of your other shows, we spoke about centre backs. I still think, despite us having Saliba, I would look at getting a centre back. Whether it's Ben White or not, I don't know. I'd maybe err on the side of someone with a little bit more experience to complement new players like Gabriel, young players like Saliba. But so for me, the majority of the money would go on defenders.
Defensive reinforcement.
I believe defences, I'm not saying we're going to win the league, but defences win leagues.
Does DM fall into that?
Yes, it does. I would look at a defensive unit that I think can go into every game next season, having me believe we can keep a clean sheet today. Whether we do or not, it's a different issue. But there's too many games where I watch Arsenal and think we're going to have to score 3 goals because we're not keeping a clean sheet and we'll probably let in 2. So for me, I would like a team that has a defensive solidity that says to me, at the bare minimum, we're going to be hard to beat. It's hard to score goals against Arsenal. And all the kind of stuff up top that I think we also need as well that for me, I think is less of a priority. I think we've got some young players in Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Aubameyang had a bad year, but we'll still score goals. I think we'll score enough goals to be okay.
Yeah.
It's at the back that I have bigger concerns.
What about you, Julian? Going into this summer, looking at 2 8th place finishes and FA Cup in between that, where would you address primarily?
To begin with, I 100% agree with Jordan, but then I grew up watching George Graham, so that's no surprise there. The only difference is how are we going to do it? How are we going to address those positions? Something you said to me, I can't remember when it was, it might have been the Supporters Club or Forever Arsenal, and you use this analogy of when you go shopping.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly what you said, but something along the lines of, if I go shopping, I know exactly what I want to buy, and I don't come out of the shop with what I don't want.
Yeah.
And I think you were referring to Party and a War.
That's
last
one.
summer.
And referring to maybe you're going for a main target in Buendia. Surely you've gone into the window. That's your first bid. Surely you want him.
Yeah. And that resonated with me, and with the many things you say, it kind of gets me thinking. I thought, well, how do I go shopping? And what I do is I go to the shops and I look for what I want, and when I find it, the first thing I do isn't go and buy it. I go back to my wardrobe to see if it's already in there or something similar. And I look at some of the players that we've got within our club at the moment and think, can they fit what we actually need? Could Maitland-Niles be a good right back? We've seen him play really well there.
My thing with Maitland-Niles and some of the clothes we have in the wardrobe, let's say, a lot of them have been used and failed to have the impact that we would have thought. It's like having a snazzy suit going out and not getting any compliments. You're not going to go out in that suit expecting compliments the next time, and that's why I see Maitland-Niles in the right back position as. I feel like far too many players have had chances and are given clean slates.
Well, what I remember about Maitland-Niles was the cup run.
Well, when he played left wing back, yeah.
Yeah, and at a full back and coming in as a utility player, he was great. I thought he played excellently. He's still young. He's obviously got potential because he can play to that level. So
who would be your top 3 sales this summer then?
Okay.
And valuable sales. I don't mean, let's say, Eddie Nketiah, who's bound to go, but there's not much value in that.
Sure. The obvious one, and we've discussed it at length, with Xhaka.
Yeah.
For many, many reasons.
Okay.
Whatever we get for him, great, as much as possible, hopefully. He would be my primary one to go. Second one, and I've kind of got mixed feelings about this, is Bellerin.
That would be my top 2, definitely.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Same. Yeah. Bellerin first for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Third one, again, this one's probably the most controversial, but Aubameyang.
I probably would have put Lacazette there, but I get you. I understand.
There's probably more value in Aubameyang.
Yeah, I understand that.
Well, there's more value in Aubameyang, but the other part with Lacazette was, from what I understand from the other players talking, is that a lot of the younger players really talk him up, that he's been very supportive, and that they're finding him a big help at the club, and he could help develop those players. So that was kind of, I was in two minds whether those two. But Aubameyang, I think, with the contract that he's on, I would probably look to shift Aubameyang. And it's harsh, and it's based purely on last season, because I thought he was terrific before then.
Yeah, we've got to be harsh, Jordan.
I think we do, yeah. Just going back to your analogy about the shopping, I was thinking about that. And you mentioned when you go into a shop, you look at the things that you want first and foremost. I think it's actually more a case of the things that you need. So to kind of keep the analogy going,
True.
If I know that I run out of toilet roll, I like donuts. I've got a sweet tooth. The belly's getting bigger and bigger. I'm not gonna lie. So in an ideal world, I want donuts. I want biscuits first.
Yeah.
But if I know I haven't got any toilet roll and I need some water or some veg, that's what I'm getting first.
Yeah.
And so I would look at, if Arsenal is the shop, if you like, I would look at what do we need. That for me is where I would be focusing. I would love a 35 goal or 30 goal season striker. That's what I want.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to be the difference from taking us from 8th to where we need to be. I think plugging those holes in where we need players, I think should be Arsenal's priority. What do we need? We need players that actually are going to be serious about trying to compete with this team. And with Maitland-Niles even, I'm not a big fan of players that can play multiple positions.
Yeah.
Utility players, I get the value in them. I'm a big believer in get guys who play that role. Now, I do think actually he can play 2 or 3 roles quite well, so he's probably the anomaly. But generally, I'm not on this whole, he can do a job there, he can do a job here.
We've heard that too often at Arsenal.
Exactly. And a final point on the defence as well is, the reason why again I focus on defence is, I don't think we need that much to complete it. You've got Tierney, and I'm concerned about his injury record, but you've got a left back. You've got Gabriel, a top centre-back, I think could go on to be... You just got to buy one other centre-back and a right-back. Leno, I think, is a good keeper. I don't think he's an elite keeper, but he's good enough to get us top 5, top 4. You want to win the league, I think you need a better keeper than that. I don't think you need a lot of defensive players to really have a back 5 that can really be the basis for a better season this year.
So what's our expectations then this year? Let's say we have the summer that you want, Julian. What's the ballpark figure that we can spend that would give you hope for top 4 this season?
Well, for me, I'd do it the other way. Exactly as I go into the shops, I look to see what I want, and then look at the price, and then look to negotiate. So if we say we've heard these rumours, 250 million, if we come out with we've got 250 million, what happens? The other teams then put the prices up. I'd rather go into a shop and say that I haven't got any money, or I've got a little bit of money, what can I get? You play it the other way. This idea of kind of throwing your wad of money around and is just going to put the price up. So it's not about how much should we spend. We want to get the players that we need at the best possible price.
So let me ask you a question. Starting 11, how many new faces in the starting 11 would raise your expectations for next season?
Okay, are we talking about new faces coming in externally, or new faces that weren't necessarily at the club, as in out on loan, or maybe in
more
sort of
so
subs?
Externally, but if you have an example like maybe a Maitland-Niles that you see in the starting 11, starting the season.
I don't necessarily see him starting 11, but I do see him as a potential cover for Tierney, who for me would always start if he's fit. Or everyone needs a rest. You've got to. You can't play him every game, otherwise you are going to have injuries. So I would have someone like Maitland-Niles potentially as a backup to Tierney.
So about starting 11, how many fresh faces would raise your hopes for top 4 next season?
Okay.
Because we finished 8th twice, so we need fresh faces.
I think it might be easier to go through the team. Goalkeeper, as you said, he's okay.
I agree with Jordan there.
He's okay. He's not the best. I was really upset when Martinez left. He for me was probably the greatest Arsenal goalkeeper. I know it was only over a few months that I'd seen in my whole lifetime. I started seeing Arsenal from sort of 76, 77 time. Right back, I think Bellerin's going anyway, and I'd like to see a new right back. So that's a definite one. Yes, we definitely need a defensive midfielder who I'd like to see start. So that's 2. Creative midfielder, I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, you've got Smith Rowe, but again, you need an alternative.
Yeah, and Smith Rowe can move back to the left as well.
So that's 3. Now up front, I would really like to see Martinelli given the opportunity to be our starter, our main guy. He excites me more than any other player has for probably the last 10 years. So I wouldn't. You can count him as an extra because he just hasn't been getting the games, but not externally.
So you're saying 3 overall externally coming in?
Yeah, I would say 3 externally that I don't see. We've got within our club at the moment those players. Although you could argue bringing Guendouzi back may well kind of limp back.
And then you could argue that's depth as well. So I still agree that 3.
I think 3 would do the job.
Jordan?
4. I think we need a centre back.
Right-sided.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be happy? Well, would Saliba be an external one, or would you be happy starting Saliba, Gabriel?
Saliba, I think, would be my 2nd/3rd centre back in that squad. So I like Murray. My first would be Gabriel.
Yeah.
I would like. See, the thing with centre backs at Arsenal is, I think we've got 2 or 3 good centre backs. I would like one really good one.
Great one, yeah.
I would like one that's like, that's our main one, that's our guy, and everyone else is fighting for second spot.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got to stand out. Gabriel's our best centre-back. I don't think he's a stand-out centre-back that Man United won or Real Madrid, do you know what I mean? So I would still like a centre-back to come in and be like, I'm the man, you guys are all fighting to play alongside me.
Yeah.
A right-back, I would like someone alongside, in a 2, alongside Partey. Someone that can be more defensive-minded to allow him to go box to box. I am on the fence with Pepe. A lot of I kind of writ him off. I gave him last season, and his numbers actually surprised me when I checked them. Actually, weren't that bad. Yeah. But I still feel, and I know people say, "Oh, you can't judge him on the price tag." I think the price tag is relevant. I think when you come in for that kind of money, there's an expectation that I think is fair. We should be expecting, I think, more than what he offered. It wasn't his first year anymore.
Yeah.
I think we should have got more. So I'm a little bit on him. I would run with Saka, and I would try and turn Emile Smith-Rowe into just an out-and-out 10. Forget wide and all that sort of stuff. Make him the creative hub that's going to get you 15 assists
so what do you
this season.
see Pepe as, left or right?
I actually think on the right.
So is he a backup to Saka then?
I think he is.
That's
Saka's left.
But Saka excelled on the right, cutting in, cross his back post, cutting back out.
I wasn't convinced overly with Pepe either side really. I wouldn't be angry if we kind of looked to upgrade on that. Yeah. And a striker as well. I mean, Martinelli through the middle, I wouldn't be angry with that. I think Aubameyang, we might be seeing him now on the wrong side of the hill. He'll still score goals. He's a goal scorer. Lacazette I like, but I don't trust Lacazette to get the 20 goals we need. So I'm looking at about four players to go into the 11 for next season.
I think 3-4 is right. I want to ask you about Pepe and Saka. Do you play one either side, or do you go with one as a backup to the other?
I'd play both of them. I was more and more impressed with Pepe. I'd kind of written Pepe off as well earlier in the season, and as the season went on, he improved.
Left or right?
His preference seems to be on the right and cutting in. Yeah. This idea that you've got to be right-footed to play on the right, you obviously don't.
No, it's a myth about it.
Yeah, it's a myth. It depends. You can go on the outside, cross it in. He seems to score his goals and by cutting in and hitting it on the left.
He needs to be looking for, sorry to cut you, he needs to be looking at people like Mahrez and Mane.
That's the name that.
Because my biggest issue with Pepe is, once he cuts in, I think he's really dangerous. Yeah. But I think that's all he's got. And I think defenders now have clocked onto that.
Yeah, it's easy to
Whereas Mahrez and Mane, they love to cut in, but they're equally dangerous on the outside as well. Yeah. And I think if he's going to be the guy at Arsenal, he has to develop a second trick, if you like, to be able to be really lethal. Because at the moment, if that cut in, bang it, or cut in, kind of curl it, top far post doesn't come off, he's got nothing.
Yeah.
He's got nothing.
He hasn't got that cut back out where then he becomes a problem on his right foot.
Well, he's got something a lot of other players don't have, is that he doesn't even know what he's going to do.
It's a surprise to everyone.
He really is a surprise. Some of the things he does are quite crap, really crap, and then the next thing it'll be brilliant.
Yeah,
that's not a good thing though. Sorry, when people say that, people say about Saint Maximin as well. Like he's really good because he doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's doing. That's not a good thing. I don't think that's a good thing.
But it's difficult to know how to play a guy like that. He's so erratic that at times he really is a game winner, a match winner.
Because being erratic in a 50-50 or even 60-40 sense is a problem, like Jordan said. But if it's 80-20 where, 8 times out of 10 you're beating the man, or you're getting a shot off, or you're getting the ball in the box and causing problems, then it becomes okay, you can...
And I just can't think of a top winger or a top attacker that description applies to. Well, they tend to be second, third tier attackers. Yeah, the best ones know what they're doing.
But I think as the season went on, that percentage was addressed into a more successful player.
He got better,
and that could improve. And I've looked at, the greatest Arsenal players over the last few years didn't hit the ground running. I think of Pires. I wasn't really impressed with him too much the first season. Even Bergkamp for the first 10 games until he scored those goals against Southampton. Henry. He's got the skills to be potentially one of Arsenal's greatest players.
And on the figure you mentioned as well, the 250, I think as Arsenal fans, we mustn't, it's a bit of a red herring, the 250, if that is indeed true. I don't think it's overly important, the figure we're given, this is the budget to spend, because if you're intelligent and ruthless and have a vision and a plan of what you want to do next season, you might be able to get your deals done with 150 million. It might take 400 million. I don't think we should be bogged down with 250 is what we need, is look, get what you need, and if it costs less, great. If it costs more, so be it. Just get the players and be shrewd. Be shrewd. Something else, just briefly as well, I wanted to mention, I think Arsenal need to be quite humble. We've discussed previously on previous shows about whether Arsenal are a big club or not, and I know Lee still here disagrees with me, the fact that I don't think Arsenal are a big club anymore, but we won't go over that one again. But what Arsenal need to do, when I say humble themselves, is they need to, I think, fall into that bracket of a club that buys talent that is happy to move it on 2-3 years later. Arsenal still think that this team that can buy the best talent across Europe and retain it. We need to be buying players in that 30, 40 million pound bracket, get 2-3 good years out of them, knowing full well Barca will come in for you. We can double our price, make a profit and move that player on. In that 2 or 3 years, we've gone from 8th to 3rd or 8th to do you know what I mean? That's not how we were before. Before we could look at the best players in the shop, go back to your analogy again, and we could seriously compete. Whereas now we're not that team. We need to be very, very humble and realise that we're in that second bracket. We need to be doing what the Dortmunds do. Picking up deals, upscaling their value, get 2-3 good years out of them, knowing, even tell the player, look, give us 2 good years and we'll let you go to United. We'll let you go to Real Madrid. We'll let you go to Bayern
That was a big
Munich.
thing for me with Haaland. That year Haaland was, being touted, well, that year was last January. I thought to myself, he rejected United, and he rejected United because United didn't want to put that release clause in for him. Haaland saw United as a stepping stone. United didn't want to admit that that's what they are. I would have loved Arsenal to go in for Haaland and said, listen, come here 2-3 years, man. We'll sell you on to whoever you want to be sold on to, because that's the reality.
That's where we are.
Of where we are. And even with Buendia, I see a lot of fans turn their noses up Championship. But Bellingham went to Dortmund from the Championship. He's in the Euros now. Maddison came from Championship. Leicester are fighting with us because they've made shrewd signings from Championship in other countries. So
We
that's
should be
where
doing
we
what
are right
Dortmund
now.
are doing.
Well, I think we need to go even further than what you suggested. We're after the Brighton right back Lamptey.
We're after Ben White, but we should be after Lamptey and Basuma.
Okay, Lamptey. So, from what I understand, he was sold from Chelsea to Brighton January 2020 for 3 million. Now, where were our scouts then? If we'd picked him up for 3 million, none of us would have complained. Now they're talking 30 million. So he couldn't have got that much better in 18 months.
So Robertson at Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of these players out there that we're picking up, these really, really young players, and talking about them at 30, 40 million, so even more. Ben White, 50 million. But why couldn't we pick him up 18 months ago when none of us have ever heard of him?
Instead, we're picking up 18-year-olds at 30 million and not playing them for 2 years and potentially selling them on.
For
less.
For less.
For less. The business isn't being run correctly. The idea of a business is you buy low, you sell high. Now they're buying high already. So it puts pressure then when you sell.
On the players.
On the players. Again, Pepe, 73 million. You talk about for the player that it does make a difference, and it should put more pressure on them. It shouldn't really, but that's not his fault. He was bought for 73, 74 million. He is under a lot of pressure. We're under a lot of pressure for him to perform. If we'd bought him for 10 million a few years before, then and he performed like that, we'd all be hailing him.
It's about, I think, the word shrewd.
And we don't seem to be shrewd. So we're talking now, all these players who are still really young at what I consider to be mega money.
Well, look, a more recent example, last summer, I believe we should have signed Basuma and Buendia. That would have been shrewd. A year later, Basuma 40 mil, Buendia 40 mil, then we're like, they're not worth that. Well, last year we could have signed them for 25, 30 mil. If you wait around, that's, that could happen. Yes, on the flip side, Aouar, 50 million last year, it looks like you can get for 30 this year. You get that on the flip side, but if you're a proactive club, you take the risks necessary. And those risks would have been Basuma and Buendia last year, and they would have paid off because they would have. Remember when we got Guendouzi? Within a year, he shot from 8 million value to about 50 million in value. Now, a year later, he's back down to about 8 million in value.
I don't understand
crazy.
why, to your point with Buendia as well, that deal last season, we wanted him last season.
Yeah.
So if you couldn't get him last season, because I think he said that, I might give it another year. The big teams, the Liverpools, the Cities, even the teams abroad, the Bayerns, the Atletico, they tie up deals 18 months in advance. Yeah. So okay, you don't want to come now, but look, we want first refusal. Give them a little bit extra money, give them some hush money, whatever it may be. When you're ready to go next year, we want first dibs. Yeah. Get that deal all but done.
Liverpool done it with Keita even.
Of course. I don't understand why, and again, it's not an agenda, but to my point that we're not a big team. We're not even getting our players now poached by the likes of Madrid and Barca and Man United. Aston Villa now are sniffing blood. That is embarrassing. Yeah. That is embarrassing, Turkish.
I laugh, but I have to. I either cry here or I laugh.
Aston Villa now are getting players that we're supposed to be getting.
But they've got
and coming for our players.
Fourth richest owner in the league.
What's going on?
Yeah, but they haven't got any of our players yet.
No, but the fact they feel brave enough to come into our house and try and get our players, that's enough.
Anyone can talk. Like if Smith Rowe does end up there, then we can have the conversation. At the moment, it's just paper talk.
I don't see Villa going to Man United and Liverpool, Man City for their players.
It does show our reputation.
Yeah, and the other aspect is that he's got an agent. Maybe it's a very good agent that's kind of planted the story. Yeah. He's getting a new contract. It's going to up his worth. I don't believe Smith Rowe will ever end up at Villa from us.
No, I don't think he will either. So. But it's the mere fact that Villa at least think they can try.
Anyone can talk is cheap.
No, but Villa, to my point, Villa aren't going to Man City trying to get their players. They're not talking about their players. Why? Because they know.
Yeah,
they don't. Don't you dare.
The door won't even open for.
But with Arsenal, it's like.
At the moment, City are talking about potentially selling Mahrez. They've got a few others that can be sold because they're in the market for Kane.
But
that's different. They're in control. Yeah. They're deciding.
They're proactive with it.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's what it comes. I think that's what it comes down to. But listen, this is a subject we can sit here and talk about all day, and
we will.
It's a long summer ahead. So listen, you know me, we're going to be discussing Kroenke every other week, if that. Julian, thank you for coming back
Pleasure,
on.
Always.
Have you on again soon. Jordan, as always,
Anytime,
thank you.
Boss.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. This has been the Supporters Club, people. I was about to say let us know your thoughts in the comments below, but just put Kroenke out in the comments below. That's what you need to flood this video with. Kroenke out, just get it trending again, do all of that stuff, and avoid merchandise, people. Until the next time, love and peace.